Most of my corporate clients are trying to communicate professionalism, expertise, and sophistication. And in many cases, I rely on natural-looking, motivated lighting that enhance the environment that I'm filming in. Well, this week, I needed to film a series of interviews for a corporate award show. It required me to completely rethink my usual approach to lighting, and I ended up making one creative decision I almost never made on corporate projects. Let's dive right in. Before we break down the lighting, let's talk about the creative brief because that's what drove every decision on this shoot. These interviews are for a corporate award ceremony. Every year I film these interviews in the same studio using the same background and the same props. But this year my client wanted the interviews to look different while still reflecting their brand, still using the same location with the same background and the same prop. So it was a little bit tricky. And to be honest with you, I don't often shoot in studios. Most of my work is on location, where I just need to enhance the space that they gave me. And it could be very challenging because we all know a good location is hard to come by these days. So working in a studio is a great thing, but it also comes with its own challenges because you're starting from scratch. You have a completely black room and it's a blank canvas and you just have to make things happen. And it kind of took me out of my comfort zone. You know, I kind of spent some time thinking about, well, what am I going to do with this space and the equipment that I have available? What can I do to make this look good and still reflect what they're trying to do? I had just received a brand new light, the newer HB80C, which is a full RGB light, which I will do a full video on coming up soon because it's a really great light. But this was the first time I used it. I just used a modifier and splashed it on the background. And then I play with the colors to identify the one that kind of best fit with the blue of that particular background. It works, it created something different. I still have texture on this wall, which is awesome. Like I didn't lose, some of the slats that gives me some texture, something. It's not a flat wall. The fact that we are filming towards the corner creates that depth again. So I was happy with that look. I think what really changed the look after we placed the color on the background was actually playing with the backlight, because I have never used a colored backlight. I like to change the color temperature of my backlight so it's warmer than what my key light is, for example. So if I'm shooting at 56 on my key light, I may put my backlight at like a 50 or 48, 45, something a little warmer. But I've never actually used an RGB backlight. And once, I think I actually turned it on by accident. Like I just turned my tube on and it was set to RGB for one of the last product shot that I did. And I thought we were kind of both like, when we were looking at the monitor, we were both intrigued. We didn't have it set to a specific color yet. I think it was bright blue. But we kind of stopped and looked at the monitor and we're like, hey, what if we match the backlight color RGB to the background? What would that look like? And we really liked the results. And I actually liked it when it was pretty harsh, which again, that's something I normally don't do, right? Like we normally have a nice backlight, maybe a little bit on the shoulder, sometimes a 3/4 light, and it just kind of falls off and define a little bit the edges. But on this one, the harsher I made it, the more I liked it. I have the grid on the tube, but I have it like very much forward versus being behind them and tilted kind of forward. I almost have the tube straight down with the tube overhead, and that's why it's spilling all over the front of their shirt. And you can see it much better on different subject. Like with her, it's a lot more dramatic because she's wearing a white top, because she's blonde, because she has glasses. We can see the effect of that tube, the presence of that tube is felt everywhere. You can see it all over her hair, you can see it on her face, on her nose, in her glasses, on the top. So by having that tube a lot more forward, directly above them, it kind of spills on the front of them as well. So the back, the shoulders, the back of the chair, but also the front. So the process is always the same. We're going to use lighting in multiple layers in order to create depth and contrast to make sure that not everything is evenly flat. And I use all kind of different tools, including my light meter, including false colors, to kind of identify the exposure that I want on the background, exposure that I want on my subject. And since we're talking about my light meter, I wanted to tell you about those new rechargeable batteries that I just starting to use. I was approached by a manufacturer to make a video about those rechargeable batteries, and I just wasn't sure because I don't use rechargeable batteries. And I also never want to bring you guys a product just to bring you a product. The only way I do product reviews is if they are products that will bring value to my production, not to my YouTube channel. I mean, it's great if it brings value to my YouTube channel, but the only way I'm going to say yes to a brand is if it's a product that I can actually use on site that brings value to what I do. And so after talking to them, I was like, why am I not using reusable battery? Why am I throwing away all those batteries on every shoot? I use batteries, AA batteries on my light meter. I use them sometime on my audio recorder, and I use them in my boom mic, and I mostly use them on lapel mics, and I don't reuse them. If I use my lapel mics for 15 minutes, I throw those batteries away because I need to know that I'm starting with fresh one on the next shoot. And so I decided to give it a try. And what was great about this product is it actually comes with the full tower. I call it the magical tower because it's like you don't know what happens in there. And the beauty is you can just drop the batteries without worrying about polarity. You don't need to worry about, is it plus and minus, which way does it need to go? You place one battery in one slot one way, and then you place the next battery the other way in the other slots. And you just feed the tower with all your batteries. And something happens in there. I can hear it, right? Like I can hear the batteries going through, dropping into different areas of the case, and they get charged, and then they get spit out at the bottom in little drawer. I have a drawer for AA's, I have a drawer for AAA's, and you pick them up, they're ready to go. And so it's just a great way for me to stop wasting batteries, always have fully charged battery at my disposal. And when I get back from a shoot, I just put all the batteries back into the tower, and they come out all fully charged, ready to go. I would put the link in the description for you to find out more. But let's get back to measuring. For our key, we're using the Amaran 200X with the softbox. And then I can just adjust the levels while measuring my key side with the light meter until I get to about 1.5 stop above middle gray. And then the next step is to then control the contrast and figure out how much contrast do we want between key side and fill side. And in this case, I don't want something super dramatic, but I wanted some good ratios because, again, I don't have anything else, right? Like it's just a blank wall. And so I wanted to make sure the ratios are seen. And all we needed to do was to add this V-flat. This is a portable V-flat. It just folds. There's white on one side, black on the other. It's a 8 foot by 4 feet. It's a great little product that I take with me on every shoot. And then all we need to do is move it closer to the subject to add levels on their fill side or pull it away to remove levels. So I didn't measure that one with my light meter to know exactly what ratio I had. This one I did by just looking at the monitor and feeling like, yep, I have a good ratio here. I'm happy with that. I did have one challenge with one of the person, and that was she had some very larger glasses, but also like further away from her face. And I had shadows everywhere that were really hard to manage. And, I tried to move my key light to a lot of different positions, really high, closer to her, those type of things. And I would be able to get rid of some of the shadows, but then her eye sockets were getting very, very dark. And so it was very tricky. And, we were running out of time. We have a lot of people waiting. So we quickly brought in this tiny little light, and it's got this tiny little lantern. At first, we just placed it on the ground with the lantern facing up. And then when I looked at the monitor, I kind of didn't like it. So I had Sedgwick grabbed it and kind of move it around. And then we found the spot above, kind of like facing her, as you can see here. And it got rid of those big shadows. The downside is we got rid of some of the contrast because we needed to get rid of some of that shadow. But you can see the effect of that little lantern on the forehead, and that just created enough levels, not only on her forehead, but it also created levels right here where the frame is for her glasses. And that was the key to really remove some of those really big shadows that she had down here. I think the biggest takeaway from this week, especially for me, is that there really aren't many cinematography rules that should not be broken. And yes, I typically use motivated, natural looking lighting for my clients, but it doesn't mean that I always should use that. We start with the creative brief. We need to understand what the project needs, what the audience should feel, and let that guide us for every decision that we need to make, whether that's lighting, composition, framing, any props in the background should be based on the creative brief and what we're trying to tell versus what's available to us. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more real-world cinematography tips. And if you'd like to dive deeper into the fundamentals behind these creative decisions, be sure to check out my online course, Essential Camera Settings. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy filming.